before the season started, if you said a player would get 32 goals already when the season is still not finished in a 38-match season, some might have said no way, but it's Norway where Erling Haaland has come from and has destroyed all sorts of records. Look at that, 32 already equaled Mohamed Salah's record from 2017 and 18. And in the Premier League, of course, he has been scoring those goals across competitions as well. 15 ahead of his nearest competitor, that is Kylian Mbappe. This man keeps on scoring, scored 2 on the weekends as well. And Terry, as he smiles and hugs Pep Guardiola, my question to you is, predict how many he's going to score in the entire season.
I think he'll, if you look at the games he's got in the EPL, I think he's got another 15 goals in there. Yes, they've got to play Arsenal, Fulham, West Ham. Fulham are not doing too bad. West Ham, they're scraping and scrounging at it for results. They've got Leeds, Everton, who are playing very poor. Leeds, who are scraping to try and throw results together and all. And then you've got 2 big ones at the end of the season. You've got your Chelsea and your Brentford. Plus, if they go further on in the Champions League and the FA Cup, you've got a few more games there. So I can see him really getting around about 15 goals, to tell the truth, depending if he plays.
Okay. That's across all competitions, I assume. You say 15, Stefan, for you?
Yeah, I'm going a little higher than that, actually. If you actually look at how many goals he's scored this season, he's got about 1.37, 1.4. I've gone a little higher than Terry, and I'm going to say 18 goals because, it might seem bizarre, but I really do think if you were to ask me to start the season or ask anyone at the start of the season to say this guy would be already knocking on the door of 50 goals and scoring more goals per game than he did at Dortmund in the Bundesliga, they'd probably laugh you out of town. But here he is, breaking records, breaking expectations. So there's no reason why he can't continue to do that for the rest of the season, in my opinion.
62 says Terry, and 65 in total says Stefan. I mean, he's already blown our minds, and we're expecting that he continues to do so. Could have an impact midweek, could add to his tally just in that game. They are playing Bayern Munich, of course, and there are more matches coming your way. This is how it stands. Inter beat Benfica, which is a bit of a surprise, 2-0. Manchester City, that was a surprise as well. Overran Bayern Munich 3-0. Real Madrid, not much of a surprise against Chelsea, 2-0. And Milan beating Napoli, a bit of a surprise as well. Terry, I start with you. City lead. They have 3 goals in the kitty. Any way back for Bayern?
Well, there's always a way back for them, isn't it, to tell you the truth? Like we've just seen, Bayern create chances, they can score goals. It's at the other end where they're leaking goals. Listen, it's a cautious game, isn't it? Pep won't change his mentality. He'll go and attack. You see John Stones has been absolutely fantastic playing in his inverted full-back or his inverted centre-back. But I think if Manchester City can keep on the front foot and keep Bayern at bay, like we said, there's a little bit of trouble in the camps at Bayern Munich at this present time. And if they make mistakes like that, this is what's going to happen. And, it's the Champions League and anything can happen. We've said it year in and year out. We said it last year, Real Madrid, we've said it years before. I just hope they get a result and come back with a result in Munich.
Okay, fair enough. Stefan, I come to you because even in that match, I know Manchester City were much better, but you felt like Bayern lacked that threat in terms of the goal scoring. So, Choupo-Moting, do you have any update yet on his possible return?
Yeah, so he was training today, back in full training, back amongst the players. He did at one moment kind of stop to feel his knee, which is where he had that injury. But for the most part, he seems to be back on the field, looking like his old self again. I'd be very surprised if he was 100% for this game, but even a 60, 70, 80% Choupo-Moting makes a difference for Bayern because they just don't have anyone that can simply take up that part of the pitch. And we missed that. Bayern missed that so much in that first leg where I thought for large parts of that game, they actually dominated possession. They had some sort of control of the game, but they just have no presence in that final third. So even a half-fit Choupo-Moting is probably better than someone like Serge Gnabry up front. So he could end up making a big difference. And remember, Bayern are a very different beast at home at the Allianz Arena. So I think there's still quite a lot to play for.
A lot of people would have wished for this to be the Champions League final, but it's not. It's the quarterfinal, and one of them looks like going out. It's Bayern versus Man City, and Bayern are 3-0 down from the first leg. Did have their chances to score, didn't take them. Now it's an uphill task. Amina, I'm going to stay with you because Bayern, Do they score twice? Because if they do at plus 100, that looks okay. That means they don't go through still. If they only get 2, Man City are plus 140. Bayern are plus 175. We're being plus 105. Draw no bet. So as long as Bayern do not experience defeat, it's a plus money, which is very strange because Man City they are so sloppy. Man City, they do enough. And then they take their foot off because they're so much better than others. And it was evident at the weekend. They're 3-0 up inside half an hour. And then they had hardly 2 shots on goal for the next hour. Killed a lot of people who were on the over 2, minus 2.5 it was. And they won 3-1. Mina, Bayern, do they win the game because they're plus 175? Is this a game where we could see more than 3 goals because that's only minus 120?
Well, Man City now have won their last 3 matches against Bayern in all competitions. So you kind of wonder to yourself whether this is just turning into a bestia negra situation for them. It's interesting because I really genuinely believe that over the weekend they will try to make their mark. They will try to really get the win against Hoffenheim and try to show themselves to be a team that really know how to recover from what I can only say is a disastrous display, despite the fact that Bayern and, Thomas Tuchel came out and said, I've fallen in love a little bit with my team. He can fall in love all he likes. And we can honestly point to the fact that Upamecano had what you could say, like 10 minutes of a disaster, if you like, and that Bayern weren't so bad. But Man City were just magnificent. And frankly, their ability to now be a little bit more pragmatic, I think this is the best that we've ever seen from them in European competition. We know that away from home, they can be a little bit wobbly. We know that they can cause problems. We know they can be sloppy. But I think that the way that they had arranged it, we always discuss whether or not Pep Guardiola overthinks everything. But I think that right now he's thought just about enough to overcome a Bayern side that has problems, that doesn't really have a great identity. They had 22 shots on goal against Hoffenheim, 8 that were on target, and yet they only managed the 1 goal. And I think that's where the problems lie. Do they have enough to convert those opportunities? There's a reason why they're in right now in the transfer market and trying to bring in the likes of Victor Osimhen that we've just discussed as being Napoli's star, because frankly speaking, they need someone to convert those opportunities where we know Man City have somebody in the form of Haaland. So I think that's what's going to be the difference maker in all honesty. I think that Bayern can definitely score 2 because they are at home and I think they have enough. Maybe definitely is pushing it. And I think they will try to make their amends and try to make amends for their performances. It's about whether or not you can put enough pressure because we know very well they can make mistakes at the back. And that's the problem. It's about how clever and wily you can be. And I think with Man City, they're a team that play their game and don't really concentrate on the other half of it. And that's where I wonder what will happen. But I'm fairly certain that they're just too good and they could let in a goal or 2, but I can also see them scoring a bunch as well. So it could be a high scoring match. That's probably where I would go. But I still think in the end, obviously, City's going to qualify. It's very likely that Bayern could win this.
Yeah, I mean, it is very likely that they win and still don't go through, Mark O'Hare. But, I mean, like I said, I think Napoli scored twice, so the team total was a possibility. I think Bayern could score twice here as well. And at plus 100, I'm happy to put that in either a parlay or just do it on its own because Man City, first of all, Bayern have got weaknesses. We said that Pavard and Alphonso Davies are not great defenders. And then Upamecano then starts taking liberties and gets found out. So there's a problem there. But going forward, they've got enough because Man City's weakness is their back line as well.
Yeah, I think it's a fascinating second leg because of the first leg scoreline, really. And I feel like the market is just gone a bit too far on Man City. And I think sometimes we can look at a final score of a match and believe Man City were 3 goals better than Bayern Munich. I don't believe that was the case. Seriously high quality football match. And for an hour, it was massively in the balance, settled by a wonder strike by Rodri. And I think Bayern had shown that they could easily compete with Man City on their day with a bit of luck. There was a fantastic block in there and a good save as well from Ederson at one point. And obviously, as you say, that a couple of sloppy moments from Upamecano and Jan Sommer allowed City to go 2 goals ahead. And it's really in that last sort of 20 minutes that they kicked on and showed their ruthless side really against Bayern Munich, who just looked jittery there in the last sort of quarter of the game. But I think, on another day, that could have easily gone a different way, that match. And I do think there'll be an element from Bayern Munich of we can't be embarrassed again. We have to show what we are capable of. It is, or it was, the top two in the outright market throughout the whole campaign meeting, and I think we saw a high standard game. Now Tuchel's not had a fantastic reaction from those Bayern players since he's taken charge. Certainly not if you look at what he did at Chelsea immediately after Lampard, where there was an obvious and immediate upturn. That's not been the case since he's come into post in Munich. But I just think the market's gone too far here, because we're getting plus money on Bayern in a pick'em at home. Against a Man City team who, sure, they're the best rated team on the planet and have been for a few years, but they don't need to win this. Like, they're 3-0 up on the first leg. Why on earth would you back City at plus 140, regardless of what happened a week ago? They don't need to win this game. So, I just expect a bounce back, and I think Bayern Munich can be, as they showed for well over an hour at the Etihad, they can be competitive. They can play to City standard. I think Choupo-Moting is rumoured to be close or available in the squad, which would be a big thing, because Gnabry looked a bit lost leading the line last week. I think they do need that focal point. I think they'll give this a right good go. And I think Bayern Munich, you talk about other teams starting on the front foot who are chasing the game. I think Bayern will do that. I think you get about plus 215 on Bayern to lead at half time, which is quite an interesting angle. I've just taken the pick'em at plus 105 because we know the market loves City. Bayern Munich went on for the biggest price they have been in the Champions League match for well over a decade last week, and it's hard to remember them being outsiders at home against anyone in any competition in that time either. So I just feel like the market's gone a bit too far in City's favour. I think there's every opportunity for Bayern to get a result in this match. I think they could easily score twice, of course, easily win the game and still go out. But I'm just going to take it a little bit safer really and take that pick'em with the draw on the side as well. I should say, actually, Man City away from home this season, you sort of hinted at it a flash, but while the Arsenal win, they failed to win, I think, away at the top 6 in the Premier League already this season, and they've already been to Dortmund and Leipzig and failed to win at both German teams. They don't need to win here, so why? Just happy to oppose them at those prices.
Yeah, listen, I agree. I totally agree. Every time Bayern at home come up against a side, I know it's in the Bundesliga, but any team that are threatening their crown for Bundesliga champions, they're 3-0 up in 20 minutes. What would we do if Bayern were 3-0 up against Man City in 20 minutes? I'm telling you now, that Bayern plus 175 is massive. But the plus 100 for Bayern to score twice is like just almost too good to be true. And I'm going to be adding that because, yes, I'm not taking nothing away from Man City, but when you're 3-0 up, it's a very funny scoreline because you don't want to be going forward and giving them an opportunity. I don't think Man City scored twice. And Man City not to score twice, that's at minus 110 as well. So, yeah, I'm happy to go with Bayern just to score twice. And I don't see Bayern getting beaten either, but it could be just some crazy game. But again, let's just hope that we're all entertained. Let's have a little look at the official picks. Bayern, draw no bet, plus 105. I'm happy to go with Bayern. Team total over 1.5 as well at plus 100. Idris says it's not going to happen. What's not going to happen? Are they going to score 2, Idris? Are Bayern going to win the game? Is it going to be a draw? I think all these questions are up for grabs, and that's why we love it. And that's why you're in the truth. Because that's why you're in the chat, because you've got an opinion. I don't mind any of that. Barca says City team total over 1.5. Bayern team total over 1.5. Don says over 1.5 in the first half. This is what I'm saying. You pay your money, you take your chance. Good luck. But for me, I think Bayern score twice.
Is it best to go for both teams to score and over 2.5? If you think maybe City can get 1 and Bayern can get 2?
It's pretty short, isn't it? It's about minus 150 or something silly.
But you're getting plus 100 on Bayern to score twice, and then you don't care if Man City wins 6-2. Yeah, I just think that because you've got getting plus 100 about a side who's got to score 3, right? Before we even start, they've got to score 3. That means they keep a clean sheet. So effectively, they've got to score 4. But we're talking about a Bayern Munich side here that every time they get the ball in the opponents are threatening and have unbelievable quality. Do we know if Sadio Mane is going to be okay to play, or are they still going to act like children and ban him?
No, he has been called up and he will be allowed to play. Whether or not he'll be picked is another question.
Well, he should be picked because he's so dangerous. He creates, he scores goals, and he would be a real menace to any defensive line as well as Man City.